Dax's Wood gets hard every time he teams up with his little tag team buddy Cash Wheeler, and now he's going in hard on Eric Bischoff in order to defend his sugar daddy, Mr. Tony Khan, the Can Man. Welcome back, guys, to Fog Wrestling, and Eric Bischoff is in the scopes of Dax Harwood. He's not happy that people like Bischoff come on and tell the truth about AEW, and he's not going to take it lying down. He's going to stand up. He's going to defend the right, defend the honour of Mr. Tony Khan, because he probably knows Tony Khan's not capable of going on Twitter and defending himself without looking like an absolute fucking jackass. So he's tried to defend Tony Khan on his behalf while also making himself look like a jackass. And I think that Dax Harwood, I think this hypes went to his head. He believes that he's better than he is. He believes that just because him and Cash Wheeler get to main event a show every Saturday that nobody watches, somehow this makes him one of the greatest things ever in professional wrestling. But newsflash, man, it doesn't. Tag team wrestling's not a draw. You are not a draw. AEW is not drawing. And it's certainly not thriving, which is the quote that Dax Harwood used to defend Bischoff and defend Khan, and suggest why Bischoff is a liar for bashing. You're a liar for bashing AEW. So that's what Dax Harwood had to say. And then we'll give our thoughts on what he had to say, because he talks shit. So let's go into it. Dax Harwood, quote, "I don't think Tony gets the credit that he deserves because he's afforded a lot of people a lot of jobs and a lot of income. I mean, even if you look outside of AEW, you got all these old-time miserable podcasters like Eric Bischoff and some of the others who make a living just by going on their podcast and burying Tony and burying AEW, even when they know AEW is a place where business is thriving. AEW is a place that's helping change professional wrestling for the positive. So not only did Tony give us and hundreds of other people a living, he's afforded a living to some people who otherwise would be sitting miserable, bankrupt in their house." End of quote. And then Cash Wheeler, who is really just the spare part, he's like the second wheel. He's the man that makes a hot tag essentially in this team. He jumped in with his 2 cents, and that's literally all it is, worth 2 cents.
Better make sure your hat's on, Cash Wheeler.
Cash Wheeler says, quote, "I think he's really mad that Tony wouldn't give him a job the few times he was there to collect the paycheck. Here comes bankruptcy number 4. End of quote. First of all, since Cash Wheeler's not important, not that Dax Harwood is, but he's slightly more important than Wheeler.
He's got a mustache.
Let's just get Wheeler's comments over and done with here. I'm pretty sure it was Tony that was begging Eric Bischoff to come on AEW. It wasn't the other way about, alright? So if you look at Tony, look at the way he reacts to any former WWE person, he will literally do anything to get them on the show. Bischoff decided at his age he didn't want to be a full-time guy. He didn't want to be away from family, and that's fair enough. He's pretty much said that about WWE as well. So it's not that Tony Khan wouldn't give Bischoff a job. Let's be honest. If Bischoff wanted a job, he'd have one.
Yep.
Because Tony Khan would be like, oh, former WWE, former WCW guy, I'm signing him. I'm paying him money. And if he wanted a job, he would also kiss AEW's ass. And Bischoff's never done that. He's actually been very outspoken and very critical and negative towards AEW. And you know what? Rightfully so. So if Bischoff really did want a job from the get-go, he would have kissed the ass. If that's what he truly wanted, he would have said positive things, nice things about AEW. Never did it. And then Cash Wheeler also talks about bankruptcy number 4. I'm not aware that Eric Bischoff has ever filed for bankruptcy. WCW went out of business. That's got nothing to do with Eric Bischoff. I've never heard of Eric Bischoff having money issues or anything like that.
No, I've never heard of anything like that.
The guy's actually pretty rich. I believe he's got a big ranch, and he likes to ride horses. Now, maybe Cash Wheeler likes to ride Dax Harwood, but Bischoff prefers horses, and I'm pretty sure that's expensive. So I'm not saying that Eric Bischoff has got millions in the bank, but the guy's living comfortably, okay? He's not bankrupt, he's not skinny, he's not begging Tony Khan for a handout or anything like that. So I don't know how Cash Wheeler can just throw the word bankruptcy out there like it's a win.
Yeah.
Where's the proof?
Yeah, it's just words without backing up. At the end of the day, though, it's almost like these guys think all these podcasters just bury AEW and don't bury WWE.
Yeah.
It's because WWE most of the time will have their superstars on a leash. Like, yeah, you will get like a Baron Corbin, but I think WWE, they more bury like Alvarez and Meltzer, guys who are nobodies in the wrestling world. I think AEW is the complete opposite. They treat Dave Meltzer and Brian Alvarez like they're the Mount Rushmore.
And Tony Khan treats Undertaker like look at that bum could only get 900k on NXT. Anyway, what Dax Harwood had to say at the very beginning, he says, quote, "I don't think Tony Khan gets the credit that he deserves because he's afforded a lot of people a lot of jobs and a lot of income." End of quote. I think if he just left it there, that's fine. If he says that Tony Khan doesn't get the credit he deserves because he's made a lot of people a lot of money, he's gave them a lot of incomes, he's provided for a lot of people in pro wrestling that otherwise wouldn't get these opportunities, aka he's handed out a lot of money to people that aren't worth it, alright? He's gave a lot of bums that would no doubt be on the indie scenes, you know, killing themselves for $20 a night. Tony Khan has gave these guys a lifeline. He's literally gave about 100, 150 people in the AEW roster a lottery win and just gifted them big money, even though they're not deserving of it. So that's what Dax Harwood is essentially saying, but I'll say exactly how it is. If he just left it at that, I mean, that's fine. I wouldn't have any issue with that. You couldn't even argue with that. I mean, at the end of the day, Tony Khan has helped out a lot of these wrestlers that, like I said, Eddie Kingston, he can talk about how he's rich and he doesn't care how many people watch because he gets paid the same. Without Tony Khan, you'd be getting paid nothing. You'd be getting like a Big Mac meal to come and wrestle a 20-minute match in thumbtacks. That's what he'd be getting.
Aye, but the problem with this is, though, is you look at it from a Tony Khan perspective and it's more just him wanting to live out his wee preferred fantasy. Like, he probably back in the day had action figures, and this is him getting his real life action figures. Let's not pretend he's doing it because these guys are stuck in a hole. He's doing it because he's a fucking mark.
I'd rather a 6-inch Steve Austin action figure on my roster than a real life fucking Dax Harwood.
Well, that's true, right? Stone Cold DT, but he's not. It's not like he's picked these guys off the street, even though they look like it. Eddie Kingston definitely does, but at the end of the day, he's employing these guys as wrestlers.
He's picked them at your local bingo halls.
He's helped them financially, but it's not like that was the sole reasoning behind them signing them.
No, he didn't think one day, like, you know what? There's a bunch of wrestlers here that aren't making a lot of money. I'm going to help them out. He wanted to have a wrestling company. He wanted to be is it really Tony Khan or is it Tony Khan's fucking daddy?
Exactly. But look at Bischoff,
Sadiq,
right? And Warner. They gave WCW, like Hall and Nash, they gave them too much.
Yeah, so why is Dax Harwood why is he not complimenting Bischoff in the same tone then? Didn't Bischoff give people life-changing money? Didn't Bischoff give out the guaranteed contracts?
Exactly. Bischoff didn't do that though to help people out financially. He did it to nail down his stars.
He did it so he could, get Nash and Hall away from WWE, WWF. So I mean, if you're going to praise Tony Khan for that, maybe we should be praising Eric Bischoff for his part in the guaranteed contracts.
And what's he better about?
Yeah, he's better about nothing. He just tells the truth. AEW does suck. Dax Harwood then went on to say you've got these old-time, miserable podcasters like Eric Bischoff and some others who just make a living by going on their podcasts and burying Tony and burying AEW. I think Eric Bischoff is made a living by being successful in wrestling, something that I don't think Dax Harwood or FTR or Tony Khan have ever done.
No.
Eric Bischoff's got a podcast now because of what he achieved in wrestling. I don't understand why people can't get that. They're just making it out as if Eric Bischoff randomly one day decided to start bashing AEW and it made him money. Eric Bischoff could probably talk about anything on his podcast and people will tune in because it's Eric Bischoff. Whether he praises AEW or buries WWE, people are tuning in because they want to hear what Eric Bischoff has got to say. And it's just like everyone like that, like Vince Russo or Jim Cornette, they've built up their audience. Their audience is going to tune in because of who they are. It's not because of what they're talking about or who they're burying. So I think that's just kind of downplaying what Bischoff's achieved throughout his career.
See, in 30 years, no one's going to remember FTR. 30 years ago, I know it's a bit less with WCW and Nitro and all that, but you just remember so much more. With Bischoff, moments for the ruthless aggression, even TNA, like him saying, "Oh, Mankind's going to win the belt," him getting chokeslammed by the outsiders, ruthless aggression. What the fuck do you remember for FTR? Absolutely nothing from FTR, and I think you just look at it, right, as everybody at AEW, these guys will be done. Scene 5, I can't even remember what they did on Collision, apart from a 50-minute match. Name me one thing happened in the match. Exactly. Oh, Battle of the Belts, he dropped his wee hat and he had to put it on during a beatdown. What the fuck is that? Imagine the dead man Undertaker returning, when he comes out and choke slams Orton, Survivor Series 2005, the lightning. Could you imagine instead of doing the lightning strike, his hat fell off and he wasted 10 seconds putting it back on. They're all bums, man. They're all hyped they're on this pedestal because Tony Khan paid them. They're not paid because they're draws. They're paid because Tony Khan's delusional. And he's got so much money just to piss up against the wall. Fuck him. Eric Bischoff's the man. I'll defend Easy.
He then went on to say that Bischoff is lying by burying AEW because AEW is a place where business is thriving and AEW is a place that is helping change professional wrestling for the positive. Alright, I mean, he can debate whether it's changing professional wrestling for the positive. I think that's opinion. You could easily find reasons why it is changing business for the positive, and I think you can also point out a few reasons why it's changing the business for a negative. But the whole business is thriving thing, that's not an opinion. That's just factually not true. That's factually incorrect. Dax Harwood is a liar. To suggest that AEW as a business is thriving, it's just wrong. They're not making money. They've not made money in any of their years. They're always in the red. The ratings have been on a decline since the show started. Everything is down, from attendances, from ratings, from viewership, for everything. Just no one is tuning in to watch AEW anymore. No one is showing up to watch AEW anymore. Business is not thriving. A thriving business is a successful business that is making money. AEW is not that. AEW is only still around because Tony Khan and his millions. And it's not, he hasn't got millions because of AEW, he's got millions because of his dad, okay? People don't understand that. Yeah, McMahon got a small amount of money at the beginning, but then he turned that into a massive, profitable, global company. WWE. So Tony Khan hasn't done that. Tony Khan spent a lot of money on a company that just isn't returning that money, a company that isn't profitable, and a company that isn't sustainable with what they're... The only way you can sustain AEW is by using Daddy Khan's money. It's not creating money. It's not a profitable company. And it's probably... I mean, we talk about how much money TNA spent over the years, and that gets bashed, and we know the likes of Paul Heyman is always quick to defend the ECW and bury TNA. He's claiming that ECW was a lot more profitable. He's claiming that ECW was actually profitable, whereas TNA wasn't. TNA just basically cost a shitload of money, and I think Paul Heyman's probably got, I think he's maybe right where he's coming from, but if you look at AEW, then I would have to assume, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I would have to assume that if AEW is around for the amount of time that TNA was, then AEW is going to be in much bigger debt. It's going to be much more red than TNA ever was. I mean, TNA at the time were handing out decent contracts, but the contracts in TNA were decent, not necessarily compared to what WWE were offering, but in comparison to how many dates you had to work and the fact that they were tape shows and that you weren't on the road as much. So, yeah, TNA gave, like, Kurt Angle good money, but it still wasn't close to WWE money. It was good money for what he had to do and for the amount of time and dates he had to work. But AEW is actually paying most of their wrestlers a lot more money than what WWE guys are getting. And it's fucking sick, and they're not worth it. It's not profitable. It's just not good business. I mean, they're paying a lot of guys millions that aren't doing shit for the rating, aren't doing shit for attendances. You could literally get rid of, like, Eddie Kingston. Instead of paying Eddie Kingston millions, you could bring in any other bum and give him, like, a 25 grand a year salary, and nothing would change in this company.
Yeah, and it would automatically save money. But back to Paul Heyman, it's easy to be profitable when you're not paying your employees, though, isn't it?
True, but I mean, even Paul Heyman, can we really believe him? The stories he's told about how ECW essentially was always screwed and that they had the money, they were making money, they were profitable, but no one would pay him the money he was owed. I mean, it's all right Paul Heyman saying this, but where's the proof? He's never actually provided documentation to show this is legit.
No, I'm sorry.
It's his word against others, and I mean, I don't know, Tommy Dreamer's never come out and backed this. I've never heard Tommy Dreamer or RVD.
You wanted to shoot him? You wanted to fucking kill him?
I've never heard Bully Ray come out and say that, you know what, we were screwed and companies are the reason that we went under, they wouldn't pay us the money we were owed. I've never heard this, to be fair. And I think if that was the case, I think those guys would be a bit more lenient on Paul Heyman. I think if Paul Heyman was legitimately robbed and denied money that he rightfully had and he rightfully earned, I think Tommy Dreamer would be a wee bit more accepting of the fact he never got paid.
Yep. Instead of taking a gun to WrestleMania X7.
But by the sound of it, it just sounds like Paul Heyman was fucking milking any money he could and screwing everybody over in the process.
It's mad to think that if JR didn't leave Tommy Dreamer a voice note or a voicemail, he would have shot Paul Heyman at ringside at WrestleMania X7. Like, what is going on there?
And if he does that, the whole Benoit thing probably doesn't happen.
Yeah, probably. Honestly.
Crazy.
No, but
Tommy Dreamer would have been the guy written out of history.
I'm not even over exaggerating here, right? But to see if he does that in 2001, the peak of WWE, because I think that's when X7, that was it. That was the peak.
That changes wrestling forever.
That changes the fucking world. Like, you always talk about like 9/11. I know it's just one guy, but see, such a public event, pay-per-view, a guy walks in with a gun and shoots someone. It's quite incredible.
Yeah, anyway, guys, that's it. Dax Harwood absolutely sucks. Bischoff's entitled to
AEW's going down, right? Wrestling, there's a trend. It's a trend with everything, right, in entertainment. You go up, and then you go down. The AEW probably starts at the top, then Punk come in, and it's just down for there.
You know what? Call me negative if you want, but I know a lot of people are making a lot of money in AEW, but I actually don't think they're deserving of it. So therefore, I'm not too buzzed about the situation. I personally like people to earn what they get in life, and for me, these bums in AEW that are getting these big contracts have not earned it.
They've not earned it, but Tony Khan's dishing them out, guys, and Fog Wrestling, sorry. We'll bring you the entertainment and the wrestling. We'll dish out the Tony Khan hate, but until next time, peace.